Is it actually healthy when a man makes more money than you in a relationship? Money is a major factor of our day-to-day life. It changes lifestyles. It can change voice, choice, leverage, safety inside relationships. I think the question isn't who earns more. The question is who has options, who can leave, who can say no. A healthy dynamic isn't about equal paychecks. It's about balanced leverage in a relationship. Hello, and welcome back to the EmpowerHER Podcast. So I want to talk about a topic that I did sort of delve into on last week's episode, but it's a topic that we've been told and taught we're not supposed to say out loud. And that is it actually healthy when a man makes more money than you in a relationship? Now, again, I clarified this last week. It's not anti-men. We're not, it's not about women shouldn't want providers or men that make money. This is not shaming anyone in any kind of relationships. What I want to talk about is power dynamics, not paychecks. So, at the end of the day, money is a major factor of our day-to-day life. It changes lifestyles. It can change voice, choice, leverage, safety inside relationships. And I talk about this topic in my personal life, and also it's something that affects me as well and something I've thought about deeply. But women feel many kinds of way based on, money and what money means. Some women feel smaller when they earn less. Some women feel constrained when they earn more. A lot of women feel confused about why money affects attraction, confidence, self-trust at all. And again, this has been a topic of conversation my whole adult life as someone who's always been super ambitious, hyper independent, always had their own money, and have basically always made more than money than all of my partners. And this has been a real challenge in some of my relationships. And, I was okay with being the one that made more money. It didn't bother me in the sense of just I made more money. Obviously, there were other problems in the relationship coming from this point, but just the sheer fact that I made more money never bothered me, even though society told me and told my partners that it should be a problem, or we should view it as a problem that I make more money than them. And again, women, culturally, we are taught that it's normal and expected for men to make more money. It's even framed as romantic or masculine, but we're not actually taught how the income gap actually plays out emotionally, right? We're told that love shouldn't care about money. But at the end of the day, money decides who takes risks, who has exit options, who absorbs consequences, who gets the final say when things get uncomfortable. Look at all of the very rich, very wealthy people. Not everyone, because it doesn't happen, but I'm talking about like housewives or people that are like rich and they have money and then they get divorced. What happens? The woman is left with nothing, or they feel super insecure. The man is always the one that's leaving them. Why? Because they have the financial stability and they just say, I just want someone new. This relationship isn't working. Goodbye, right? And so the thing is that women feel this tension around income differences. And when they do feel that tension, they assume something is wrong with them. But at the end of the day, it's not personal, it's structural, and it's relational. So let's talk about what can happen. Not necessarily what always happens, but if a man significantly earns more, has a significant increase in salary compared to a partner, dynamics can subtly shift in the relationship. He may feel, and again, this is not necessarily saying he's a bad person or he's trying to be mean, manipulative, abusive. It's just can be very subconscious, very subtle. The man may feel more entitled to make decisions. The woman may hesitate to actually speak up. Disagreements can feel riskier for the lower earner. Leaving can feel less accessible for the person that earns less. And even in loving relationships, money can unconsciously become authority. And this doesn't mean, again, that men are malicious or all men. Obviously, some are, but not all of them. It just means that money creates leverages whether or not we want to admit it. And what women often do in these situations where they have a man who makes a lot more money, they soften their needs, they over-accommodate, they downplay discomfort, they call it quote-unquote gratitude. They're grateful for that, so they're giving something to their partner. But at the end of the day, that's not softness, that's self-silencing. And, the other side that no one prepares women for is when women earn more money. So what happens when women earn more money? They're often told, just don't make him feel insecure. Let him lead anyway. Downplay it. So what do women do? We start shrinking our success inside of our own relationships. They often take on more emotional labor in order to compensate. They manage their partner's egos. They make themselves smaller to keep things smooth. And over time, this erodes attraction, respect, and self-trust. And it's not because women earning more is bad. It's because we're still operating on these outdated rules about gender and power. In my relationship, I talked about last week where I didn't let my partner put his name on anything in the apartment. I made significantly more money than him. And I always felt like I had to make myself smaller. He would always tell me, oh, you're working too much. You're doing all those things. He didn't complain when I worked too much when we were on vacation in Greece and I paid for the whole thing, right? Or I remember we were out Christmas shopping. We were at this place where there's a bunch of bodegas and street places where you could get a lot of really cool wrapping paper and all kinds of stuff. It was relatively inexpensive, but we had a lot of bags, but we just got wrapping paper and things to wrap our Christmas presents, cute bags, things like that. And we ran into one of his colleagues, and I remember his colleague made a joke saying oh, haha, I see your girlfriend is spending all your money, as a joke. And I stood there and in my head I was like, first of all, rude. Second of all, it was actually my money that we were spending, but whatever. And my partner just laughed because obviously what was he going to say? No, she's not doing that because he lives in a patriarchy and that was his way of thinking. Obviously someone that feels confident in themselves would have been hey man, that's not funny, or no, she makes her own money, or said something, even if it's not directly or aggressive to him, you could have said something to sort of, give an indication that that was inappropriate. So, and he didn't do that. Another example, which I thought was really interesting, is I had a conversation over New Year's with one of my husband's friends, and just for context, he's about to be 30. He's a high earner, I would say. He's not the top earner, but he's, for his age and for his experience, he's a high earner. And he has a girlfriend. They've been together for less than a year. And I was having a conversation with him, and I basically said to him, how would you feel if your female partner made more money than you? And he was like, that would make me uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, but obviously we're not talking about both of you making minimum wage and she makes a little more than you. We're talking about if both of you were very successful, very high earners, but she just happened to make more than you. And he was like, well, that would still make me uncomfortable. And what I basically said to him was well, that's a you problem. And if it is, then you should make more money. And he looked at me and he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. That was my response. I was like, if it's a problem, make more money, work harder. I don't know what to say. If your woman can make more money than you, even, you're both high earners, she can make more money than you, and that's a problem, then make more money, dude. I don't know what to say. And obviously it was a nice conversation. He's a friend, so it wasn't, hostile or anything. But that's just my point of view is if you have a problem with it, then fix then make more money. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's I don't even think he knows why he thinks that. It was clear to me that he didn't have a reason for thinking that. It was just that he thought that. Another one of my friends, I would say she's moving up in her career. She makes decent money, but her partner does make more than her. He is a few years older than her. So, that could be why. And she told me in her head, she always feels like her partner should make twice as much as her. And I was thinking okay, but what if you make a certain amount? Again, I brought it up. I was what if you're also a super high earner? And she's well, then I guess I don't expect him to make twice as much. And I was why do you feel that way though? Why do you think he needs to make twice as much? And she basically couldn't give me an answer. She didn't know where it came from. She's just I've just always felt that way. And that's the problem, is we have these thoughts and feelings and ideas about how things should be, but we don't actually know why we think that. We haven't actually evolved to saying okay, but where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way, right? And that's what's super important, and why I'm probably annoying to people, but like I always have these conversations with people because I'm like, can we just get to the root of it so that we can like dismantle this? But that's a whole other discussion. But at the end of the day, and what I noticed about these conversations, it all comes down to men wanting to feel powerful and women wanting to feel secure. That is what it comes down to at the end of it. And what I say to that is like, what if as women we can give ourselves power and security, and then we also don't need to take away power from men by us earning more? And I think the question isn't who earns more. The question is who has options, who can leave, who can say no, who can absorb risk. A healthy dynamic isn't about equal paychecks. It's about balanced leverage in a relationship, right? And that can look like both people having independent income. It can be clear agreements about money. It can be shared decision-making regarding earnings. No one is using money as control consciously or unconsciously, because at the end of the day, true partnership is not rescue, it's mutual choice. And something I talk about is, I make more money than my husband, and I make a significant amount. Now, he makes a good amount of money too. I just happen to make, a significant amount more than him due to the nature of my work. And it's so interesting because I was thinking about at absolutely no point in our relationship has this been a point of contention. Ever, ever, ever. He has not alluded to it. He has not been passive aggressive. There has never been an issue. This man, and it makes me emotional thinking about it, he would give, if he had 2 cents left in his bank account, he would give them to me if I needed them. That's how he is. And our relationship isn't built on power dynamics. He knows that I'm with him and love him because I love him as a person and who he is, not because of what he has. And we've been able to talk about it and discuss what our roles are in the relationship. We've had very honest financial discussions. I've talked to him about my expectations. We've talked about what if we have kids, what happens? What if I want to take a longer maternity leave? We've talked about all of those things and how that works, but it's never been a power dynamic or a power imbalance. It's been an open and honest conversation about where our life is, where we want it to go, what do we want to spend our money on, what does it look like for us, what do we each bring to the relationship, and what that really works and what that looks like for us and what works for us. And that's why I believe we've never had an issue about talking about money. And I've always been clear from day one that I was independent, I make my own money. I never want a man to support me, but we've had open and honest conversations about what that looks like and what power dynamics look like. And we don't want to have those power dynamics in our relationship in any way, because that's really how we believe we can have a long-term healthy relationship. The problem is that when money imbalance exists without transparency, women will lose trust in themselves. They second guess their instincts. They stay longer in relationships or situations than they should. They tolerate dynamics that they wouldn't accept if money wasn't involved. And they blame themselves for feeling off. But at the end of the day, your body knows when power is uneven. That discomfort you feel, that queasiness, right? That's information. It's data. It's not failure. I really just want to encourage women to really look at their life and say, okay, is it really about me needing a provider, or is it me wanting to feel secure, right? Healthy dynamics at the end of the day in relationships require financial clarity, not avoidance. They require boundaries, not assumptions. They require autonomy for both partners. There's no reliance that eliminates choice. We don't want to eliminate anybody's choice in a relationship to do what they want. And again, you can want support, love, like you can want support without surrendering your power. You can want partnership without losing your voice. You can love deeply and still protect yourself. I love my husband deeply. He's my everything. I want to build my life with him. But am I going to just give him all the power, so to speak, and rely on him for everything? No, because what happens in 5 years? What happens in 10 years? I don't know what's going to happen. Things can change. I always say the person you divorce or break up with is not the person that you get together with or that you marry. And I firmly believe that. I've seen it firsthand. And I never want to be in a situation where things go bad, things go sour, anything happens, and it affects my ability to be who I am, to be independent. I don't think, I just personally think it's not unhealthy for a man to make more money, but it's also not unhealthy for a woman to make more money. So that's really the conclusion, is it doesn't really matter who makes more money. What's unhealthy is when money becomes the thing that decides who gets to speak, choose, or leave the relationship. So if this is you, if this is something you've thought about, I have a couple of reflection prompts. Write these down, put them in your phone, and definitely journal on them, think through them. The first reflection prompt is, where does money give or take away my sense of safety? The second one is, do I feel free to be fully honest in my relationship? The third one, if money were removed from the equation, would my needs change? Think about these, reflect on these. And I really just want to encourage you that you don't need financial equality to have a healthy relationship, whatever that means. What you need is agency, safety, and choice. And I always encourage women to have those things, have those conversations. Even if your man makes more than you, make sure that you are secure, that you are safe, and that you know what you have going for you. Because at the end of the day, that's what real love is built on, and that's what real intimacy is built on. Alrighty. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was inspiring. Just really want to empower all of you women because I know how amazing you are. I always appreciate a 5-star review, and don't forget to subscribe if you're on Spotify, Apple, or on YouTube as well. I hope y'all have an amazing week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.